Arsenal's fourth consecutive year outside the Champions League. Given the financial nature of that and how much money you make from being in it, how much harder does it become every year you're out of it to get back in?
Harder and harder, because that's obviously something that has to fit each other. If you are not in Champions League, and because you are not in Champions League, you say, okay, I don't invest because I don't have the financial ability to do it. But the other clubs invest, then the gap becomes bigger. If I do want to invest and risk, and then I don't reach it, what happens? So at some stage, you have to make a decision whether I want to aim to make that gap closer and go for it, or I stay where I am.
So basically, you have to take a risk and a gamble to get there. And do you think in the current climate...
You can see many good examples of teams that they've done it and they have come back to how they've done it.
And does there come a time when we have to stop viewing Arsenal as a Champions League club? And when you recruit players, does that...
While I'm sitting in this chair, I not, because that's the only seat that I see this football club.
But for players looking in at you, do you think Arsenal still attracts them in the same way that 4 or 5 years ago?
Yes.
What about the club do you think is doing that?
Excuse me?
What about the club do you think is really appealing to players still?
Because it's got an incredible history, an incredible structure, in a beautiful city, and a style of play that attracts players. And I'm telling you now, because when I am closer to the market now and I speak to people, a lot of players want to play for Arsenal still.
Last summer, Josh Kroenke said, Arsenal have got a Champions League wage bill on a Europa League budget. There's quite a big possibility maybe that will be a Champions League wage bill on a budget without even Europa League. Do you expect there to be, as a result of that, people leaving the club, players going and being sold?
I'm not expecting that. I'm not saying it's not a possibility. I don't know. In football, everything is possible.
Okay. And just lastly for me, what else do you need as a coach, or what do you need as a coach from the club to take Arsenal back to that level?
What I need to do, first of all, is myself do my work as good as possible, improve this team and the players individually as much as possible and get the maximum out of that. And then what we need to do at the end of the season is, okay, let's see the direction we want to take, agree on the ambition of the football club, realize that where we are, the demands are going to be huge. Still, it doesn't matter what we do. That's never going to change because it's linked to our history and our success, and move from there and put a plan together where we can achieve that as quick as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Adrian at the Mail.
Hi, Mikel, just a few from me. Mikel, I just wanted to ask, what have you made of sort of stats that sort of came out after the game at the weekend about the points being dropped from sort of winning positions? So I just wonder what conclusions you've come to in terms of sort of reasons behind why that's happening and what you can do to resolve it.
Various different ones. Some of them has been lack of concentration. Some of them have been some individual errors. And some has been because the opponents have done something in the last 15 minutes, which is very common in the Premier League, to push you and concede goals. And then from my side as well, obviously, I have to look at ways to prevent that much more and improve on that situation because it's a big margin, as you mentioned.
How do you improve it in terms of what you can do with the players?
Because there are things that are in our hands that we have given away, and that cannot happen. It's normal that you're not going to maintain every time you are ahead the solution. And sometimes it's not just about conceding goals. If you can concede one, but you should have killed the game by scoring the second and the third much earlier when you had the chance. So if you don't do that one and you don't do the other one, obviously you are exposed till the 94th or 5th minute.
Yeah, just on that, obviously you had, real control of the North London derby at the weekend, for example. How do you kind of transform your players, if you like, and get in their heads the importance of getting that second and that third goal to kill off the game? How do you actually go about doing that?
That's a mentality thing. It's a mindset thing, and that's the way we have to play in every ground. It's much harder to do what we've done at White Hart Lane and to propose the game that we did and play with the personality, direction and dominance that what we did than to resolve just an individual error. It's much complicated to put your team to play that way that just minimize one individual error or something. So I'm pretty confident that medium term that will be resolved pretty quickly.
Just lastly, you spoke earlier on about Liverpool and their buy-in. I just wanted to ask about one player in particular who had a transformative effect on their defence, Virgil van Dijk. In particular, I just wondered what you sort of made of how big an impact he's been able to have on their defence, first of all. And is that the sort of thing now you're kind of in the position of trying to build a squad, build a defence that you look at and you think, I would even like to find that, I'd like to try and find that sort of player. And can Arsenal actually even afford to do something like that?
Well, the margin that Liverpool had in the previous seasons, the goal they were conceding and how they were conceding those goals, with some individual errors, we saw set pieces as well, for example. And the moment they touch the spine of the team, that changed it dramatically. Same team, same players, same amount of arrivals in the final third, same recovery time after losing possession, but completely different numbers. So that's a quick fix. You get one of the best defenders in the world with the best goalkeeper in the world, with one of the best holding midfield in the world, and you change it pretty quickly. You can see at City what happened when Laporte came in. Straight away.
As a manager trying to build a squad, do you look at, say, somebody like Van Dijk, and does that kind of always give you a template when you're trying to build your squad and try and find that figure that can have such an impact on the way the team defends, first of all, and the way they can play?
Yes, because that's the way I believe that a team has to be built.
Excellent. Thank you, Mikel.